unpredictable world of fantasy sports, when all hope seems lost and chaos and confusion rule, one hero will rise. And change everything. GoingFor2.com. Because no one remembers the extra point.
The deep one for the end zone. Phelan is down there. Oh, he got it! He got it! He got it! Touchdown! Jordan. Oh! A spectacular move by Michael Jordan! Big shot! Yes!
Going on, guys? All right, welcome to episode 82 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Presented, as always, by TalkLoudRadio.com and GoingFor2.com. Live every Friday night on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. And, of course, streaming in the Going4 2 app for iOS and Android. I'm here, as always, with my host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. How you doing tonight, man?
Fantastic, man. Actually had a draft I enjoyed this year.
Good stuff.
At least for my team. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, no, your tight ends. You finally didn't get a tight end in a draft for the first time in like 5 years.
I was really hoping for Hawkinson, but it's all right.
All right. And also joining us tonight, I believe you've been on the show once before, Derek Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at Debro_FFB. Derek, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, guys. I mean, you know, it's this time of year where football's kind of slowly revving up. The draft just happened. So, I mean, before we know it, it's going to be week one. So I'm loving it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. If you can just give a quick second and, talk to yourself a little bit. Tell us about, how long you've been doing this. Just plug whatever you want right here.
Yeah. So I'm going into my third season writing, podcasting, talking football to whoever wants to listen. Writing currently for Gridiron Experts, Fantasy Data, and this year got hooked up with Joe Pisapia and his baby in the Black Book.
Nice.
So I'm super excited about that. I've got to finish up being the new guy in town. I break it down tight ends and kickers. So look, you got to start somewhere, man. I mean, somebody's got to do the dirty work, and I'll gladly carry the shovel. But nah, man, I love talking football, I love talking fantasy, and thank y'all for having me tonight.
Yeah, man, glad to have you on. So I got to ask, how the hell do you break down kickers? How does that work?
You tell your league to get rid of them. Nah, man. Honestly, it really comes to for me with kickers, it's all the factors around the kicker, and that's honestly two biggest things are how often teams get into the red zone and how bad they are in the red zone, because that's what you want. You want a team that can move the ball, stall out in the red zone, and you get kicking attempts and points in that manner.
Fair enough. We don't like kickers here at GoingFor2.com. We just go for two. All right, so the draft this past weekend, obviously huge thing. Tell me, guys, how did you watch the draft? Did y'all watch it at home? Did y'all go to a bar? Ryan, we'll go to you first.
I watched it at home. I mean, I missed the first half of the first round, but I was home by the pick that mattered for me. And then I just watched it at home the whole draft. I was on live with the analysis for basically all Saturday night, though.
Nice.
So that kept it a little bit more interesting. I was a little bit buzzed up by the time the Ravens came around in the third round, but it was a good time.
Good stuff. What about you, Derek? What'd you do?
I was not able to watch much of the first round of the first night of the draft. I got maybe like the very tail end of it. I was keeping up with the draft on my phone. I had kid activities and dad duty that night. So
Nice.
Day 2 and 3, I got a little bit more of that. But which actually, I mean, I was a little bit more excited for day 2 than I was the first round, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think you didn't miss
I
much
wonder
in
why.
that. Yeah, so you didn't miss much in that first round as far as fantasy stuff goes. I mean, I think they drafted like 3 or 4 players that were not quarterbacks in that first round. It was all defense. So, yeah. So I watched it from home as well, but I did go live both nights. Not on my podcast. I went live with the Superflex show on Thursday night to kind of promo the draft pack promo that we had going on, which tonight we'll give away the prizes for that. And then on Friday night, I went live with the GOAT District. I had a great time there. We talked on that show forever. I mean, the podcast was an hour long. I think we talked off air for about 2 hours afterward. I was up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to work at 4 a.m. the next day, so it was a rough Saturday for me. So, but I had a lot of fun doing that. All right, so I want to quickly promo our next podcast is going to be coming out because we've been kind of building this a little bit for the last couple podcasts. So I'm doing it's called Pros versus Joes. Basically, I've gotten 6 pros from Twitter, and I got 6 Joes from Facebook. And we're currently doing a Dynasty 1 QB PPR mock draft currently. Once the mock draft is done, I'm going to send the mock draft to Ryan and to 2 of our guests coming on that show. And they're not going to get the names of those people, and they're going to have to grade each team and rank them 1 through 12. And then we're going to go on live and do a countdown, basically, of the 12 teams, starting from the bottom all the way to the top. And we'll see if the pros are truly pros and see if they can beat the Joes in their own game. So it's going to be an awesome podcast. I'm thinking May 10th is when we're going to drop that one. So definitely be on the lookout for that, guys.
Awesome.
All right. And I also
met bribery.
What was that?
You can bribe this judge.
Yeah. send Ryan money and then who you drafted in the first round so he knows who to give a good grade to.
I think PayPal, Venmo.
Venmo with your first pick, just so you know what's up.
There you go.
Nice and easy.
All right, so before we get into it, I want to go ahead and just give out one of the prizes, actually 2 of the prizes for the draft pack contest. So if you missed the draft pack contest on Twitter, it was humongous. I think we had over 1,500 unique entries with over 3,000 tweets over the weekend of the draft. So that was pretty awesome for me. A lot of fun there. I think a lot of good content came from that. You were able to click on the draft pack hashtag and kind of see everything that's going on in the draft. So we're going to go ahead and give out 2 prizes here really quick. The first one we're going to give out is going to be the 2019 draft guide from the NFL Talking Heads. You can follow them on Twitter at NFL Talking Heads. They do a draft guide every year. And they put it out. Basically, it kind of gives you who you should be looking for in each round of the playoff or each round of your draft. It's a great tool to have when you go into your draft. And the winner of that is going to go to at StarkShark7. So I don't know if Stark Shark is watching tonight, but if not, I'll send you a Twitter message to let you know that you just won the NFL Talking Heads draft guide. So congratulations on that. And then we're also going to go ahead and give out the Big Guy Fantasy Sports Consistency Guide from our mutual friend, Bob. He actually puts this out every year. And this past year actually won an award for it. FSWA gave him the best fantasy football publication of 2018. It's an awesome guide that he puts out. I mean, it's got, everything you need in there to figure out who the most consistent fantasy players are, from that year. So, the winner of that is going to go to Mention It Sports on Twitter. So I will make sure to reach out to you as well if you're not already watching the show. So congratulations to both you guys. So we got a pretty jam-packed show ahead of us, guys. So we're just going to jump right into it really quick here. So basically we'll go by position and break down all the fancy relevant players in tonight's and this past weekend's draft. And we'll start with the quarterbacks. Obviously there's not a whole lot to talk about there. We do mostly 1 quarterback leagues here. If we're doing Superflex, maybe it changes a little bit. But let's give our thoughts on these first quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round. Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, and Daniel Jones. Derek, we'll go to you first.
Oh, man. As much as I'm down on this class for this year, you got to like that the Cardinals took Kyler number 1. I mean, it was no BS, all the smoke and fire for all the talk leading up to the draft. It was good to see it happen. Good to see Rosen find another spot. And Kyler, I mean, he's going to be money for fantasy. With his legs, they added a lot of skilled players around him. You have one of the premier running backs in the NFL in that backfield that can catch passes with the best of them. And so I like Kyler. I like him, a guy that kind of like Trubisky last year. you could take at the end of your drafts and stuff like that, and he has that weekly top 10 upside with him with his legs alone. I mean, he's the sexier, better thrower of, better version of Lamar Jackson is the way I put it. Sorry, Ryan, my bad. But sorry, not sorry. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. But Haskins, man, I mean, the landing spot was about as good as you could expect for going in there. I mean, anybody that thought he was going to be a top 5 pick, I mean, you're looking at the wrong things. I didn't see it happening. I thought all the Raiders stuff was to try to get people to trade up and they could trade back, get some more picks. So I thought that all was just a bunch of BS. Haskins, I think what it's going to come down to, I mean, the system's good. We've seen some quarterbacks succeed in the system. I mean, hell, Gruden made Andy Dalton look like an above average to, competent quarterback, which is, at times hard to do. And so the system's good. They added skill players around him depending on how you feel about this wide receiver class. I think the big thing for Haskins is that he's a guy that is, I think he's a little more mobile than some people give him credit for, just watching him on film, but he's still going to be behind the 24th best pass blocking line for the year last year. And we know they can't stay healthy, and I think that's going to be the key to at least his marginal success or failure in year one. And as far as Daniel Jones goes, dear God in heaven, I don't know what to say, man. The Giants, if anybody's been on Twitter or even read any about draft grades or whatever, you already know what I'm going to say. It was a terrible pick, horrible pick for a player that I watched even a handful of games, and I was like, I don't need to watch it anymore, man. He's just bad. Like, he is and I don't want to besmirch. I got respect for him as a quarterback. He is the extreme light version of Alex Smith. It's just dump off, dink and dunk, and people want to talk about, his receivers dropped a lot of passes and the offensive line was bad. Dude, it's not going to get any better when you get the speed of the NFL. He's going to be just trying to get it out as fast as he can. And for a guy that you try to watch enough games and you're like, okay, what can this guy do? And I'm like, what kind of arm does he even have? Because you never see him push it down the field.
Nope.
So, he's a guy that I didn't see him do really anything that well, much less to be a top 10 pick. It just felt like one of those guys that draft season hype, the fever, and it's the Giants. So what else are you going to say?
Yep, exactly. Ryan, what are your thoughts on these guys? Anything you want to add?
Daniel Jones is bad. He's not made for this world. I feel bad for Giants fans, and I feel bad that I put that in the mock draft just to kind of mess with Matt over analysis. But I love Dwayne Haskins' landing spot. I'm a little higher on him than most. I think he's a fantastic distributor in football, and he's really good at spreading it around, and they put the right kind of weapons around him. They added McLaurin, so he was comfortable throwing to a guy he was comfortable with in the third, who already has that chemistry. Added Kelvin Harmon, so they gave him some weapons there. Added Bryce Love for an extra running back. There's tons of guys he can dump the ball off. I was surprised they didn't get a tight end with him, but I think he's in a good situation there to succeed. Because Washington really wasn't that bad. They needed to work on the offensive line, but if they get a system in place where they're getting rid of the ball quickly, he can be okay. And he might be a guy who can start immediately.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think living in Washington, D.C., they're all excited because they got Haskins, and I think that, as long as Jay Gruden can instill his offense, I think he'll be, a good enough quarterback. Now, I'm not going to take him in any kind of my redraft leagues. Maybe a dynasty league, late pick, or super flex, I would take him. But for redraft, I'd probably wait at least another year to see what he is. Now, Kyler Murray, for me, is pretty much format proof. I think he could be redraft, dynasty, super flex, no matter what, system you play on. I think Murray is definitely a pick that you definitely want to get. I think you can get Murray really late in redraft, and his legs alone will make him a fantasy asset. So I love Murray there. I think that they added some good pieces there. They didn't improve the offensive line, but they did improve all the weapons around him. They drafted 3 receivers over there. So, it's going to be
that line's so bad.
What was that?
That line's so bad.
Yeah, that line is terrible.
One thing
he's
that
not a
popped
stat
out
cheater.
about
It's so bad.
What's that, Derek?
one thing I wanted to get y'all's take on for Haskins, because he's a big guy. He's not the most mobile of guys, so people always assume, like, all right, he's huge, he's got to have a big arm, right? What was y'all's takes, at least watching him, as far as what did you think about his arm? Because there were certain takeaways for me, at least when I watch games for him.
Ryan, we'll go to you first. What do you think about the film?
I think his arm popped on certain throws, like intermediate throws down the field, in the middle of the field. They were there. They're on point. They're coming in quick. It kind of faded a little bit on his deeper routes, fly routes, post routes, stuff like that. But a lot of that was their system, I think, because Ohio State really doesn't push the ball, so I don't think he has much chance to show it off as he did. But coming out of high school, he was a 4-star recruit because of his ability to throw downfield. So I think in the right system, we could see more than he showed in college.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of what I took away. I was a little bit less than wowed on his deep throws, especially watching one game in particular, watching Maryland. You saw his receivers waiting on deep balls and kind of having to make plays to adjust, and honestly making his stat lines look a little bit better than they should on those deep throws. So for a big guy, if he sticks to the intermediate part of the field like Gruden did with Dalton, then yeah, I think he'll be good. But I was less than impressed on his ability to push the ball.
Yeah, I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound kind of funny, but he had two of the fastest receivers in the game, you know what I mean, with McLaurin and what's his name? Trying to blank on the other receiver that was there.
Paris Campbell,
thank you. He had two pretty fast guys, so maybe they were just outrunning his throws, you know what I mean? Maybe it just looked like that. But I agree. I think you watched the film, and there were a lot of plays where the guys, if he would have led them a little bit more, they could have been touchdowns. Instead, they were just, 40-yard receptions because they had to kind of come back to the ball. So that's kind of the same thing that I saw as well. I think he has a big arm. Maybe he's just afraid to let it go. I don't know. All right, let's talk about some of the other quarterbacks in this draft that kind of came later on. Are there any guys that pique your interest a little bit, Ryan?
For fantasy?
For fantasy.
Not really. I don't think Drew Lock's good.
Agreed.
I mean, he could be the Flacco replacement here in a couple of years. It's not that big of a difference in Flacco. It's the younger version who doesn't have the experience, but I'm not high on him. Elway seemed to have been, but he would have took him higher if he had thought that way. Other than that, I think quarterback's pretty bad, and there's no one I'm really looking forward to myself. But how about you guys?
What about you, Derek?
I mean, I think the way that the NFL is trending, I could see somebody like Will Grier step in and have a few fantasy relevant seasons depending on what happens with Cam long term. Like if Cam wasn't there, could he step in and have, like we were talking a little bit earlier, like a low end QB1 Andy Dalton-esque season, or even a Case Keenum type season? Because I think he's aggressive, he can distribute the ball. He's a little bit better than some people give him credit for. But that's about it, man. This class overall was pretty damn nasty. I mean, for me, it was Kyler and it was everybody else in a lot of aspects.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this. Let me say, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say you own, let's say Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees in Dynasty. So you got maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 years left. Would you draft Jarrett Stidham, who's now the backup for Tom Brady, in hopes that he becomes that next quarterback there? Derek, we'll ask you first.
No. No way. There's no way. I don't think he's going to be the guy, man. There's no telling what the Patriots do. I mean, Bill could walk off in the sunset with Brady whenever he decides to retire. I'm not going for any Patriots backup, much less Stidham.
Good point. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Stidham? Anything?
No. Maybe. No. I've watched him play now. One who could keep an eye on, I kind of slipped my mind earlier. It's a long shot, but maybe Ryan Finley. You don't know how short of a leash Andy Dalton's on, and Finley's basically a super vanilla, boring quarterback too, so they might be comfortable playing him.
So they kind of like Drew Lock replacing Flacco will have Finley replacing Dalton. It's the same quarterback, basically.
It's basically just like when they had Dalton backed up with A.J. McCarron. It's the exact same thing.
Yep.
If Lock replaces Flacco, is he automatically anointed? Is he elite? Is that how that goes?
Absolutely.
Sorry, Ryan. I got to give you some Ravens shade.
Man, Flacco shade has no problem. I'm so happy he's gone, man. It doesn't matter. He won just many Super Bowls with Drew Brees in his tenure, and he's out. It's cool.
Oh, don't go there. Don't even. Oh. All right, fine. All right, the gun is loaded, my friend. All right.
Good stuff.
The gloves are off.
All right, before we get to the next category of running backs, I'm going to give away 2 more prizes from the hashtag Draft Pack contest. The first one we have is coming from our friends over at the GOAT District. They have a promo they've been running for a little bit for the FFPC Best Ball Leagues. They're giving away some free ones over there, so they donate one for us as well. So it's a $35 entry into the FFPC Best Ball League, and the winner of that is going to go to Ron Stew47 on Twitter. So again, I will reach out to Ron on Twitter to let him know that he won that Best Ball League entry. And we'll go ahead and give away one more. We got some Sleeper swag. So Sleeper's kind of the next big thing for Dynasty platforms. I know I'm on Sleeper. I use Sleeper a lot for my mock drafts, and I have my main Dynasty League on Sleeper, so some great stuff over there. They donated some swag for us, so the winner of the Sleeper swag goes to at Coach Sweeps, or Sweeps, SCHEPPS, however you pronounce that. So Coach Sweeps, you got some Sleeper swag. I'll hit you up on Twitter to let you know. All right, guys, let's get to the running backs, which typically in most fantasy seasons, running backs are the ones that we're all kind of clamoring to get to, especially the last couple of years when you got guys like Zeke and Christian McCaffrey and Nick Chubb and all these guys coming out, Leonard Fournette a few years ago. This year, not quite so much. It's not quite as a big a deal as it was in the past years. Let's go with some winners and losers, and we'll start with the winners. Ryan, let's go to you. Who are some of your winners in this draft from the running back class?
Top one has to be Josh Jacobs because he's the only one who legit's going to step into a starting job day one. Everyone else is probably a backup off the get-go. Miles Sanders, baby, but he's still in a hell of a running back by committee. I think Alexander Madison's in a good spot. I really liked him as a winner because the only thing instead of Dalvin, they like that power back in the red zone. They don't have it now. He can fill in that spot. And then other person I kind of like is, we say winners is just the current or the rookies, or are we talking current players on the roster?
Current players on the roster too. If they didn't draft somebody,
It's Ronald Jones season.
Oh, God, you're still on
my God.
Dear God,
I see him play and I see different. But, they're winners because they didn't bring anybody in. New coaching staff has to see something they like.
That's
if they're not going to spend a pick. They did draft terribly in Tampa, but they could have at least gotten somebody.
Yeah, agreed. They didn't draft anybody, so I guess by sheer elimination, they pretty much Peyton Barber and Rojo kind of won because they have no one else to compete with. Good stuff.
Yeah, got to be the prettiest girl at the bar. Just got to be the last one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Derek, who you got for your winners?
I think there's a trio here, and it's not even close as far as running back winners for the rookies. And, I cannot believe that you did not even mention David Montgomery, Ryan. He's the biggest winner for me. I get Jacobs, he's got the first round draft capital, all that kind of stuff, but what did that do for Penny last year? I understand it, and I think that he's going to be the guy, but the biggest winner, because we always talk about, okay, well, running back doesn't matter. So some of those things, I look at landing spots, and the landing spot for David Montgomery is great. I love him in the Bears. I love him. I want him to go to KC or to the Bears, and he went there, man. He went to one of my top spots. But the other two guys were Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders. I think Sanders is going to have a little more competition with Howard. I don't think that they're just going to shove him to the side. Sanders is going to have to prove himself, show that he can pass protect, show that he can elevate his game and play up. So I like those three guys as the winners for the rookies. As far as any vet or non-rookie winners, for me, dude, it's Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
That guy is a huge winner. I mean, you have the Dolphins that walk into this that they did not address the running back position until what? I think it was round 6 or 7.
Yeah, Myles Gaskin, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Drake, I'm not a Balaj guy. I don't believe in Balaj. I never have, probably never will. And so Kenyon Drake, it's wheels up, man. Regardless of what you think about that offense as a whole, dude, we've seen Kenyon Drake produce in the doldrums of terribleness and create plays on his own. So I think Kenyon Drake is one of the biggest winners coming out of this draft as far as running backs go.
That's a good point, actually. And I did a thing on Kenyon Drake on a buy low for Fantasy Pros, and I can't remember the exact stat, but I know like the last 6 weeks of the season 2 years ago, he was an RB1 for those last 6 weeks. And then, yeah, he was a beast. And then last year, I don't know what happened last year. I mean, they just didn't use him. He was injured, whatever the case may be. They just didn't use him the same way they used him the year before, and kind of fell off the map.
Jeff. He got gazed.
Yeah, he got gazed. Exactly, he got gazed. All right, so I got a couple of winners as well. Obviously, I had the same guys that you had. I mean, Jacobs wins, obviously. He jumped in my rankings quite a bit. Obviously, he's my RB1 now. Miles Sanders also won. He did slide back a little bit for me because of that propensity of the Eagles to use the RBBC that we so much hate. It's not just 2 running backs. It's like 3 or 4 running backs there that they use. But I think Sanders has got the skill set to eventually take over that backfield, even with Jordan Howard there. They didn't trade a whole lot for Jordan Howard, so there's not a lot invested in him, so they can definitely move on from him after a year. So I have a couple more deeper guys that I'm going to look at here. And one of them is your boy, Ryan. He went to Baltimore, and that's Justice Hill. I think he has a chance to take that passing down role. I think Dixon is there. He might get first crack at it, but we know Dixon can't stay healthy. By week 2, by week 3, Dixon will be hurt. Justice Hill will come in. Obviously, Justice Hill's crushed the combine. He's got all the measurables for it. I think that in that offense, he will be used quite extensively. We know Ingram can catch the ball as well, but I think using those two as a 1-2 combination should definitely be a good thing for fantasy. So if you're looking deep, look for him. Also, I kind of like where Devin Singletary landed as well. I know people are down on him because of his combine. I think he ran a 4.640, which isn't terribly fast. But he's one of those guys that's kind of like a Le'Veon Bell type, where he's not that fast, but he's very shifty, and he's very patient with his blocks. And then, you got ancient Frank Gore, who's like 37 years old. You got Shady McCoy, who's kind of coming down to the end of his career. I know they just signed T.J. Yeldon, but let's face it. I mean, Yeldon is not the greatest backer. They wouldn't have ever had to replace him in Jacksonville. He's he's probably more of a passing down back anyway. So I think Singletary, maybe not this year, but maybe next year, or maybe like by week 10, week 11 this year, has some fantasy value as well. I know one of our guests, Andy Singleton, came on a few weeks ago, and he really liked Devin Singletary. So if he likes him, then I like him. So I think Singletary had a good landing spot. And the last one I got is Travion Williams in Cincinnati. Gio after this year can be cut for no cap hit whatsoever. So I think that if Gio gets cut, I know Joe Mixon's there, and I know Ryan's a big Joe Mixon guy, and he's pretty much the all-world back that can do everything. But playing behind Mixon as sort of a compliment, I think when Gio Bernard's gone, Travion Williams can take that role, and I think Williams can succeed in that role as well. So those are my 3 winners that are a little bit under the radar. All right, guys, let's look at some losers now on the opposite end here. Ryan, we'll go to you first. Who you got for your losers?
Oh, God, there's a lot. I was on the podcast, and I was very really upset when it happened, and that was Darrell Henderson going to the Rams. I was so freaking upset about that. He was my RB2. I think he's super talented. He's explosive. I don't think Todd Gurley's knees are as bad as everybody says they are. And, I mean, he has off-season heel. Until he's actually hurt, I'm not believing it. And I just hate it for Henderson, man. If he gets in there, it's going to be awesome, but I don't want to count on that.
Agreed.
So I hate that spot for him. God. I don't I blanked on the other one I had.
He wants to come back.
I don't like the Bryce Love one.
Oh, Bryce Love in Washington.
Oh God, taking him in the 4th round when you already have guys Peterson, Thompson on the roster. I know Peterson and Thompson are either hurt, old, or whatever. So those guys, but it's a lot of mouths to feed, and if they're all healthy, that's a nightmare.
Yep. You don't think he sits for a year and then it's him and Geis in 2020?
Possibly, but what do you do with Chris Thompson then? He's a good player when he's healthy. I mean, it's a big win. But
Yeah, win is exactly right.
Thompson's going to be a free agent, after next year?
I think so, yeah.
So, somewhere around there. His contract's getting close.
And
that
health is definitely something you got to worry about. All right, Derek, let's go to you. Who do you got for your losers?
Oh, my God, man. I feel like the Bengals stabbed me straight in the heart. I love Rodney Anderson, and I hated that pick so damn much. I was hoping he went to Tampa Bay with every fiber of my being. Oh, my gosh. So that's my biggest loser. But I really want to piggyback on one of your takes, Ryan. I actually, I'm a little more worried on Gurley than most, man. He's what is it? I'm not worried until he's hurt. I mean, I don't know if he's definitely healthy. I'm kind of worried until he's actually healthy because I saw a video, surface on TMZ where he was like literally hobbling on one leg, and that was recently. So as much as I'm kind of down on Henderson, and he was probably I was lower on him than most, and I feel like I'm because I love you, man. But Henderson was this year's Rojo for me. I was
waiting for it.
I didn't see it, man. I didn't see it. He had huge holes to run through. I get the explosiveness, but to the flip side of that coin, dude, I will probably be drafting him earlier than most people in Dynasty rookie drafts because of my fear for Gurley. And I honestly think, man, put it this way. I don't think there's a scenario where Gurley does not miss games this year. And if that is the case, Henderson wheels up in that offense.
Yeah, I think I could see a situation where they actually try to limit Gurley's, early in the season where Henderson becomes a little bit more valuable. So, obviously that's kind of the thing now in the NFL is to have that 2 tandem back. And Gurley was one of the exceptions of the rule where he pretty much did everything. And it kind of wore down on him a little bit. And then the end of the season, we saw what happened. So maybe they try to use Henderson in that role a little bit to limit his touches. All right, so the only one I really got that we haven't already talked about, actually I got 2 guys. And one of them is probably the worst. I mean, this place that he went, which is terrible. I mean, granted, he wasn't highly sought after to begin with, but there was some hype around him, and that's Mike Weber. I mean, you go play behind a top 2 dynasty running back in Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, you're pretty much not going to see the field. It used to be that Zeke wouldn't be part of the passing game, but we saw last year he's part of the passing game as well. I think he had like 77 targets last year, so Weber definitely has pretty much been killed. And then Damian Harris, it's the Patriots. You got to love it, right? I mean, they've got so many running backs back there. You don't know who's going to be getting the ball. And then they just add one more to the mix with Damian Harris. So if you're a Sonny Michel owner like I am, you're probably sweating a little bit. I mean, that's like the worst running back committee you can possibly have in the Patriots. They'll just basically use any guy they want and just say basically F you to all of us fantasy players out there. So Damian Harris has kind of hurt me a little bit as well. What about sleepers? Go ahead.
Entire class.
What was that?
So we could just say the entire class were disappointing.
Yeah, there was really a lot of disappointment as far as running backs go. A lot of places that they should have gone. Like the Texans didn't really draft anybody. I know they got somebody they signed either really late or got him undrafted, but I thought Lamar Miller would be on his way out, and I thought they would draft a running back to replace him, and that didn't happen. So, like you mentioned, the Bucs thought the Bucs would get somebody. They didn't get anybody. It was just ugly all the way through. I don't know what happened with this running back class.
I think you have a definite tier break. It's those top 3 guys and the hell with most of everybody else as far as rookie dynasty drafts right now.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, there's some Henderson ideas there, but outside of those 3 or 4, I mean, the rest of it's trash.
Yep, agreed. What about sleepers, Derek, since we're on you? You got any sleepers in this draft that you look at that you think that could be hits?
I got two guys that kind of stick out, and I talked about a little bit earlier about, we talk about running backs don't matter, and you talk about system, and you talk about landing spot, and things of that nature. If that's the case, there's no way that I'm not going to be at least interested in a late round pick in a Darwin Thompson, somebody that landed with the Chiefs. He that immensely just popped off the tape for me when I watched him. But landing at the Chiefs, and you've got Hyde in front of him on a 1-year deal. You got Damian Williams, who everybody wants to love and hope and just fawn over. But how many things had to go right perfectly for him to get the job? And he's on, what, a 2-year deal? And you have Darwin Thompson, who comes in. He's got a 90 plus, off the top of my head, burst score. He's a guy that, I know his 40 was done amazing. He ran a 4.6, but, I mean, how many Chiefs backs have we seen, Kareem Hunt, in light of other players, that have, the 40 time doesn't freaking matter, and he's a 74th percentile Spark X score? So, I'm willing to take a late dart on a guy like that in a great spot. And another guy that has gotten a lot of love because his combine measurables were just amazing is Alex Barnes. I like where he landed in the sense that he's a big guy, 6'1", he's above 220, he's in the 220s, 230s, depending on where you look at your stuff. And he's a guy that when I watched him, he's no nonsense. I mean, it's just all straight downhill. And Vrabel seems to be down with that, man. I mean, they fed Derrick Henry down the stretch. And if that's the archetype they're going for, Henry's in a contract season. So if you don't want to pay Henry, if Barnes gets any time, what's the other one? The guy on the depth chart there? What, Deion Lewis, a guy they didn't want to feed the volume to, and when they did, they didn't do anything?
Right.
He's not long for this league anyway. He's 28, 29 years old. Barnes is a guy that, when I watched him, the best, and I'm not a huge comp guy, but the best comp that I could come up with for him, at least watching him run, was last year's preseason darling, and that's Chris Warren. So I like the landing spot. I like where he went as far as being a deeper throw for fantasy.
All right, good stuff there. I love both those calls. What you got, Ryan? You got some guys you like?
I actually do. One of my favorite, I'm probably going to grab him everywhere, is Jordan Scarlett, backing up Christian McCaffrey.
Oof. That's deep, man. I love it.
They want to lower McCaffrey's carries this year. There's no way he's going to hold up, even though I know he looked swole in those pictures they posted the other day. But Scarlett came in. He's a weight room monster. He's strong. He's big. He ran 4.47, so he has that breakaway speed. He brings a lot of what McCaffrey does, maybe a little more towards the power section, but it's a nice compliment to him, so their offense doesn't really have to change. I think he's a great fit there, and I'm a very big fan of him, and he's under everybody's radar. So there's going to be a lot of shares to be had. And then the other one is Benny Snell. A lot of people are kind of against that pick for him going to Pittsburgh, but he's literally a James Conner clone. Like, if I had a comp for Benny Snell, it's James Conner. So anything happens, he fills in exact same thing. I like the compliment to him. And Conner had a whole different offense last year, so he's going to have to prove himself. He's going to have a lot on his table. So we'll see if he can hold up behind that. And Benny Snell's going to be waiting in the wings, and he could be. I think he's a little bit more talented than the back, anyways.
All right,
brings a little bit more to the table.
Good stuff. I actually had Snell as a loser, so I guess you live in Pittsburgh, so you got a little bit more insight than me. But I had him as a loser because I thought him behind him and Jalen Samuels, I thought he wouldn't see the field. But if you're saying he might take over for Conner, maybe he will. All right, so I got two guys as well. The first one I got is Raquel Armstead, Jacksonville. Honestly, I didn't do a whole lot of film study on this guy, and I just kind of read some of the tweets on him when he got drafted, and basically he's a carbon copy of Fournette, from what I've heard. And if he's a carbon copy of Fournette, are they looking to replace Fournette? Because I just pulled up Spotrac to see what Fournette's contract is. His dead cap last year cuts basically in half. From this year, it was almost $9 million. Next year, it's only $4.5 million. So they could potentially move on from Fournette after this year if Raquel Williams shows anything at all. So I do like him. We obviously know the Jacksonville Jaguars like to run the ball, and even with Fournette there, he may get some work. as a sort of a fill-in and a 60-40 split if he can possibly show anything in camp. And then the other guy I got is a little bit deeper down. Let's see, I gotta find him. Devin, I think it's Devin or Divine Azigbo for New Orleans. Obviously,
I almost went there, Jeff. I love that call.
Yeah, Latavius Murray. He's been in the league for a long time. He hasn't really shown a whole lot. I mean, he's shown a little bit there in Minnesota. He had a little bit of flashes in Oakland, but he's nothing special. And I think if Azigbo can show anything, obviously younger. Coming into that Saints offense is high powered. If he can be that, that guy for that team, I think that, obviously he can be an excellent player in that offense. So anytime you can get a guy like that in an offense as powerful as the Saints, you definitely want to reach for that. So Azigbo would be a nice guy for me, late third, even early fourth if you're looking, for one of those deeper leagues. So those are my two sleepers. So great stuff there, guys. Love it. All right, let's go and give our top five here. I know we basically said it's basically the top three and then a bunch of other guys. I'm curious to hear what your top five running backs are, Ryan. Who you got?
Mine aren't fully formed yet, but probably Jacobs, Sanders, Montgomery, Hill, and then after Hill, I'm kind of blanked on there a little bit. Like right at that 5 spot, everything got turned upside down. I might be leaning towards, as weird as it sounds, Alexander Madison, just because I like his role and how they run the ball.
All right.
But it's a mess, man.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think about 4, and then it's sort of like, I don't know, it could be anybody at this point. What about you, Derek? Who you got for your top 5?
Man, I think it's top 3, and then there's the cliff. It drops. For me, it's David Montgomery, Jacobs, Sanders. After that 3, I'm probably going to go with Henderson as my number 4, only because my worries with Gurley. And after that, really you could roll a dice for anybody. I could tell you Barnes, I could tell you Singletary. Really pick your poison.
All right.
I can tell you guys at the Hill thing that they were talking about Hill inadvertently all
I thought Justice Hill was going to be your number 1. Just I'm going to put it out there. So when you didn't say him number 1, I was really kind of surprised.
Hey, I'm not that big of a homer when it comes to fantasy because I've never had the opportunity to be a homer in fantasy before.
Yeah, because Ravens aren't very good fantasy relevant.
All right.
Other than Ray Rice,
let's go down this rabbit hole before we go into the next thing real fast. Where do you have Hollywood Brown at? Just I want to see where the homerism, where you draw the line at. Where's Hollywood Brown as far as your wide receivers?
Hold on, can we wait for the receivers for me to bring that up? But probably without bringing that up right now, probably the
number 1,
6 to 8 range.
Okay, no, that's fair, man. Just trying to give you crap. That's definitely fair.
I think he'll be okay, but I think he's gonna be inconsistent. I think he's gonna get not as much volume as like see, but I think he'll produce. He'll have big games and disappear.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good best ball player.
We'll definitely get more.
He's been an outlier his whole career.
Super
he could do it,
man. I'm born to Justice Hill for fantasy, and I'll say that because a dude who's that explosive with the running lanes, Lamar Jackson opened up. Gus Edwards is basically any of us running the ball. Like, he's just big and falls forward. And he was after 5 yards a pop.
To give your Justice a little more legs, Harbaugh has not had any problems giving an undersized guy the rock, i.e. Justin Forsett. So I could see it, man. I could definitely see. There's a path for Justice Hill to be this year's Philip Lindsay. There's definitely a path.
Ingram's a little bit in the way, though. Him and Ingram would be a nice combination. But they won that explosive back all offseason. That's all they talked about.
Yep.
They just put him in speed there.
All right, good stuff there. All right, my top 5 guys. So I've actually got my rankings pulled up here. I did quickly do my rankings right after the draft to sort of get it up there. But I got Jacobs number 1, Montgomery number 2, Miles Sanders is 3. And then 4, I do have Justice Hill. And then a distant 5, he's all the way down as 21 overall. A distant 5, I've got Devin Singletary as my 5th. So, yeah, it's pretty much like you said. It's a top 3, maybe 4. And then it's like, pick your poison. Take any guy off the board. It's pretty much the same guy. So, agreed with you all on all of that, all those takes as well.
You know, we have 4 more years of Frank Gore, man. He's staying around till the sun goes, bro.
That's 4 more years.
That's what he said.
Frank Gore is this generation's Marcus Allen.
Yeah, he's not going away.
His son's a freshman this year, man. He's gonna wait till he gets
he's
pro.
gonna show that new crew how to do it, man. He's gonna play till he's 40.
All right, before we get to the tight ends, we're going to go ahead and do another giveaway here. Next up, we've got, actually, RotoWare has offered up 2 shirts of their first round collection. So we'll give 1 shirt away to each. And it looks like the first shirt that we're going to give away is going to go to, looks like at Raisin Grossa. Raisin, Grosa. I guess that's how you say that last name. So that will be for one of the RotoWare shirts, and the other RotoWare shirt will go to Real Brian Willis, at Real Brian Willis. So I'll reach out to all y'all on Twitter, let you know you won, and get you set up to get you that sent to you. So let's move on to the tight ends now before we do receivers after the break. Tight ends shouldn't take too long. It was a good class, but obviously tight ends is never very deep. So give me your thoughts on this class this year, Derek. Tell me what you think about the guys that came out this year.
There is my definite love fest and all things T.J. Hawkinson, and then there's everybody else. I love that guy. That guy is a dementor. He is going to steal souls. He's going to put people in the ground and then catch passes and step over their dead bodies. I love that guy. Absolutely love him. Fant, I think I wish there was a better spot. He's my number 2. And I feel like you could make a case for any of the guys that are after him. Fant, I look at him as a sexier version of Eric Ebron, and I'm curious what his development curve kind of goes in the NFL. If they use him and deploy him in the right way, then as a slot guy and at not asking him to block a ton, I love him. If Elway and that coaching staff tries to make him an inline tight end, I think he's going to struggle early. So Hawkinson's safe. Everybody else, I'm kind of worried about. Irv Smith, I love his landing spot because I'm all things Vikings. I swear to God, I need to get a Vikings tattoo on me somewhere because I'm all things Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, Thielen. I mean, it's wheels up, baby. So I will say I the other part before I let you or Ryan get into this is, damn, I love where Jay Sternberger landed. I love it because LaFleur, he loves to deploy the tight end. I think we would have seen a different offense out of the Titans last year if Delaney Walker had been healthy and Jonnu Smith had been healthy for the entire year. So I love Sternberger. I love where he landed.
Good stuff. Good stuff. For those of y'all don't know, I think he landed with the Packers, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, good stuff. All right, Ryan, what do you think of this class? Are you in love with Hawkinson as much as he is?
Hawkinson fan, I love him, but I mean Hawkinson's a monster, man. He's never going to leave the field. He buries people. He's basically a lineman, then turns to the receiver. He can stretch the field. He's awesome. I'm a little higher on Fan, I think, than you are. I think he's going to be close. I think his production will be pretty good off the bat, just because from years of watching Flacco, the only person he throws to is his tight ends.
Yep.
Like when he drove the games, like we went to the one game, like saw him coming like from the parking lot. He rode there with Todd Heap. Like that's his only friends on the field as a tight end. He was 5th in the league over the last 3 years for targeting tight ends. He hit them on 23% of their plays. So that's his go-to spot. And that's literally all they have at tight end is Fant. So I like him there. Love Jay Sternberger. He stretches the field very well. He's downfield threat. He's got Jimmy Graham to learn from, which is perfect. Hopefully he just doesn't pick up the blocking habits. And also like Irv Smith and Dawson Knox's landing spot. In Buffalo, they used the tight ends very, very well back when they had Charles Clay a few years ago. And Dawson Knox has the opportunity to grow Josh Allen and become like his safety blanket. So they really don't have any big body threats there with John Brown, Zay Jones, and Cole Beasley. He can be that guy he can dump it off to.
Good stuff, yeah. I agree with both y'all on Hawkinson and Fant, so I'll talk about the third guy that we kind of talked about a little bit, and that's Irv Smith. His landing spot obviously is great. We've got Kirk Cousins there who traditionally has been big at throwing to the tight ends. I think Kyle Rudolph had a bit of an off year last year. Everyone kind of thought Kirk Cousins would go to him, constantly. But when you got Diggs and Thielen out there, I think he fell in love with those two guys. But I just checked on Spotrac, and Kyle Rudolph, after this season, is a free agent. So there's a good chance that they're not going to pay a 30-year-old tight end, big money to stay in the Viking country, and they're going to go with Irv Smith Jr. And we know in fantasy that tight ends take at least a year or two to sort of develop. So if you draft Irv Smith Jr., you can stash him for a year, let him sit behind Rudolph, and then when Rudolph gets released, next year as a free agent, Irv Smith Jr. steps in, and he's a fantasy beast for about 8 to 10 years after that. So I love Irv Smith Jr. I loved his combine. Obviously, he's an all-world athlete, and then I've always said this on the podcast quite a few times. If you go back and watch the combine and watch his gauntlet, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a thing to behold. It's better than most of the receivers out there. It was just a thing of beauty to watch him do the gauntlet. So definitely, Irv Smith Jr. is a big winner for me on where he landed. You just got to wait 1 year for him to see the benefits of him. So great stuff there. Any sleeper tight ends besides Sternberger that y'all liked, Ryan?
I don't see any who have an immediate path to starting and playing time, which is kind of the biggest issue with tight end. There's nobody I'd draft recently or coming up. They're mainly guys who are going to be wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
What's the guy? Alize Mack? Is that the guy the Saints picked up?
The Saints. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's a deeper one I'd probably keep an eye on. He's really athletic, and you guys do know how to use tight ends, and still a little. You guys have top end talent, but I feel like there's a little bit lack of depth. So him getting some playing time could be in the cards.
Yep, good call. What about you, Derek? Anybody you think that's deep down here that you can look at for tight end?
Man, I'm kind of with Ryan on this. I feel like outside of the top 4 or 5 guys, there's not a whole lot of great landing spots. I do like the Saints rookie that Ryan shouted out. Only in the sense that if you see Breeze move on, if they win this year, some things of the nature, then I think that Bridgewater's a guy and Peyton stays around. They're going to still utilize the tight end moving forward. So, I mean, really out of those top 4 to 5 guys, I think sleeper's hard to quantify for us that we look at football probably way too much in some aspects. So looking at sleeper, I mean, I think Knox is a guy that I think in a lot of general leagues will go overlooked by most of your general fantasy fans, and he's a guy that I would definitely pick up late.
Yep, good call on those guys. Actually, I don't have anybody else that y'all haven't already mentioned, and like you said, there's just not a whole lot with the tight ends. I think it's very top heavy. There's a couple guys that could hit, but I was going to go through our top 5 there, but I don't think we need to. I think we pretty much talked about all the top guys in that class there. Let's do one more quick giveaway, take a commercial break, and then we'll come back and do receivers. And then if we have time, we'll do our first round mock. Hopefully we can get through that as well. So we got 2 things to give away here. We're going to give away a 6 months free of the Hall of Fame subscription to Fantasy Pros. And that's going to go to, looks like Steel Sturge 92 is going to win the Fantasy Pros 6 months free of Fantasy Pros subscription. And then we've got a Dynasty League Football 3-month free sub, and that's going to go to at Spinksy NFL, SPINKSY NFL. So he wins the 3 months free of Dynasty League Football, which is obviously a great place for your rookie rankings and everything else. Ryan McDowell's got a podcast over there, so great stuff, great content from them. So a good sub to have. Take a quick commercial break, guys, and when we come back, we'll have our receivers, and hopefully we'll be able to get to our first round mock draft as well. So hang tight.
Fantasy football. It's not just a social interaction anymore. Today's manager plays to win, and the difference between winning and losing is so small, a manager will do whatever it takes to get an edge. Yet the other sites offer the same content at an extremely high cost. It's time to get away from the old and step into the future of fantasy stats. This is StatRoute. StatRoute allows you to find any data set for any player or team in 7 seconds or less, all on a simple, easy-to-use application. Want to see which running back performed best in the snow last season? How about the past 5 seasons? And in the 4th quarter? Or maybe you're unsure of which quarterback to start for the upcoming week. With our Stats IP technology, you can now quickly see how Matt Stafford has performed in the rain, during the second half of the season, in New York, compared with how Russell Wilson has played during primetime games, at home, versus the Rams' new defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips. At StatRoute, it's our mission to deliver state-of-the-art technology guaranteed to keep you ahead of the curve. So, whether you're a casual football fan, a weekly fantasy trash talker, or a DFS hustler, we've got you covered. Welcome to the new standard for stats delivery. We are StatRoute. Take back your league.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here with Ryan and Derek. We are talking NFL draft and landing spots. Of course, guys, you can always find this podcast, the unlive version, the audio version on iTunes, Stitcher, and all your major podcast networks. Just search for Talk Loud Radio, all one word. All right, before we get to our wide receivers here, we're going to give away two more prizes here, and then we have the grand prize that we'll give away at the end of the receivers. So the two prizes we got coming up right now are from Daily Fantasy Nerd, which is also one of our sponsors here at GoingFor2.com, and the 3 months free. And the key here is it's 3 months free during the NFL season, so it pretty much covers you for the entire NFL season. And that's going to go to at mstepney71, who I know was watching earlier. I saw him comment. I'm not sure if he's still watching or not, but I'll make sure to reach out to him on Twitter to let him know he won the DFS Nerd package there, so good stuff. And then StatRoute, also one of our sponsors. You just watched their commercial there. It's a great site, especially for DFS. I use it a ton. It's a great thing, and they're actually giving away a year free of StatRoute Premium. So you got all their great stats that you can use for StatRoute, and it's going to go to at tgun87. So great stuff there as well. All right, guys, so we're running behind the clock a little bit. We're already at the 1 hour mark, so we're going to hopefully fly through some receivers here and then get to our first round mock draft. So, Ryan, we'll go to you first. Give us some of your winners here for the receivers.
I feel like nobody won just because they went super late in the draft and got passed over. But I think the winners are the guys who are hitting the easy parts on the depth chart. Obviously, N'Keal Harry has Tom Brady thrown to him. It's perfect. Perfect situation for a young receiver, going into a great system, and actually having the starting job. I think Hollywood Brown's the winner. Most people don't think that. I know we were talking
myself
about that
included.
a little bit, but you know what? The biggest thing is opportunity, and he's that easy trip to the one spot of the team. Both guys who Washington went have an easy road to the starting job. Josh Dawson's not good.
Good call.
And McLaurin and Harmon both have talent. And I like DK Metcalf's landing spot, man. Doug Baldwin's done. I think he went, 3 rounds later than we expected him to go, but
Yep.
he's not going to land with that much better of a quarterback. And he can do all the things that they like to love to just chuck it deep there.
Yep. Good call. All right, winners, Derek, what you got?
So my winners, I'd say Paris Campbell.
Yes.
Is one of my biggest ones.
I forgot him.
Because landing spot, man. And T.Y. Hilton is slowly getting long in the tooth. His contract after next year, dead cap falls off. Not saying they're going to cut him, but he is not going to be a young buck by any stretch of the imagination. I like where he landed, and I also like, I'm going to go a little bit off the rails here just because I feel like he's a good receiver, and I'm wondering if he could supplant this other guy that's gotten a lot of fantasy and dynasty love in A.J. Brown. I feel like he is a very versatile receiver. I'm not a huge Mariota guy, but I wonder if A.J. Brown could be the guy that they were hoping that they drafted when they got Corey Davis. So my winners off the top of my head.
All right, good stuff there. I got a couple winners as well, and I had Paris Campbell written down. He was one of mine. He jumped up in my rankings up to number 3 overall, actually, behind N'Keal Harry, who I had as a winner, and Josh Jacobs as number 2. I also had and a guy that I didn't have ranked literally at all, and I had never even heard of this guy until he was drafted by the Chiefs. And I can't even say his first name. I'm guessing it's McCole Hardman. I guess that's his name. I had to look him up. I didn't even know who he was, but he's basically a clone of Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's 5'10", 180 pounds. He played both running back and receiver in college. He played special teams. He's super fast and very quick. I mean, he's basically Tyreek Hill without having to name Tyreek Hill. So I don't know if he'll be Tyreek Hill, but in that offense, he doesn't have to be Tyreek Hill. He can just be good enough, and I think that Hardman's draft stock rose tremendously. I also had DK Metcalf as a riser as well. He rose in my rankings quite a bit because of that. And then one deep guy that I want to talk about, and he also went to Seattle, and that's Gary Jennings, only because I think his game fits what Doug Baldwin did more so than what DK Metcalf does. Jennings is more of a slot receiver than Metcalf will ever be. Metcalf doesn't have the agility to be a slot receiver. So Baldwin was more that slot guy, and I think Jennings, even if he got that late round draft capital, I think Jennings, could come in there and be a decent receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. They've got a plethora of receivers now, though, so who knows who's going to emerge there. But he's one of the guys that I'm kind of keeping an eye on as well. Let's go losers, Ryan. Who you got for your losers?
Hold on. I'm being barked at. Threw my whole life off there. Oh, God. I think J.J. Arcega-Whiteside had a little rough go, falling behind Alshon. I think long term, it's great because he has something to learn from, but we're not going to see anything anytime soon. I know a lot of people like Debo's landing spot in San Francisco, but I kind of hate it. You have a bunch of the same guys there, and you have no idea who's going to get the ball fantasy-wise on a week-in and week-out basis. Maybe you have a little better view on that than me, but you got Pettis there, you got Debo, you have Goodwin. A lot of balanced teams.
Trent Taylor. I'm
not a big fan of that at all.
Yeah, I think Debo.
Pettis is the GOAT, just saying.
Pettis is the GOAT.
I said Pettis is the GOAT, just saying.
You don't have to talk to me. I love Pettis. I was one who told Jeff last year, like on draft day, that I was jealous of that pick. I love Pettis. Man, how many of these guys just went like Emmanuel Hall went undrafted?
It's tough.
I feel like the fantasy community is the biggest loser because everything we thought was completely wrong.
Yeah.
On where they view people.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, we get so high on metrics and stuff like that. The NFL doesn't see it that way. I mean, this draft screamed trench work as far as like the first two rounds, like with team needs and just the strengths of the draft. I mean, we can hype all day long up and down, but there were so many teams. Like, you look at the entire first round, like after like the top 5 picks, I could sit here and tell you almost every single team needed help on the defensive or offensive line. So, I mean, anybody that was not thinking that like skill players that were going to get pushed down a little bit or a lot of it, I mean, wasn't really looking at the whole scope of it, honestly. They were looking at everything that they just wanted to see through rose-colored glasses.
So who do you got for your losers, Derek? Anybody you want to mention?
Oh, man. My big guy that I'm not high. I can't do it. My loser's DK Metcalf, man. For a guy that everybody mocked at the first round, and he fell not out of the first, but the second, would he get taken in the third?
Third round.
Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. For a guy that everybody had mocked repeatedly to the first round, and he fell to the third? I mean,
he was picked 232.
So
very last pick of the second.
Very last pick of the second round.
Very last pick of the whatever. Yeah, I mean, compared to like the mid upper first round, like everybody was talking about, and you have all these Julio Jones and other crazy comparisons for people that look at metrics and they don't look at the tape and don't look at what his actual skill set is. I mean, I put a tweet out there and I said, okay, DK Metcalf is going to be one of the most physical, best blockers in the NFL because the Seahawks are just going to run the damn ball the whole entire time. So I look at him as a big loser. I get Russell Wilson chucks it deep. and I understand all that kind of stuff. I am just not on DK. There's no way, man. Like, he is a one-trick pony to me. I don't see him. I see him being boom or bust, and probably 95% bust.
All right, good stuff there. We'll fly through my last one. I got one loser, and it's more of a loser. It's on a personal level that he's a loser because I thought he'd be a late round pick that I can get. I actually got him in a bunch of my mocks in the late third, and I was kind of hoping he went to a good passing offense. Unfortunately, he goes to the Ravens, and that's Miles Boykin. I was loving Miles Boykin. No one was looking at him. Of course, he gets drafted.
I'm a free agent for podcasts now.
He basically got drafted behind Hollywood Brown. He'll be in contention with for touches and for catches with Mark Andrews. They got Ingram there. They got Justice Hill. They got Dixon. I think he's behind all those guys as far as touches goes. He's super athletic. I thought he would get a good landing spot and be a good sleeper in fantasy, but with the Ravens picking him up, I probably will be avoiding him at all costs. So Boykin was my loser. All right, we're going to skip our top 5 receivers. We're going to quickly do the grand prize winners for the hashtag draft pack contest, and then we'll go through our first round mock draft. So the grand prize winners, so the first one is actually both from our sponsor, StatRoute. They came through big time, giving up, obviously, the 1 year of premium service. They also gave us some Bobby Portis signed game-worn sneakers. I know this is an NFL podcast, but people out there still like the NBA, and if you like the NBA, Bobby Portis plays, for the Washington Wizards now. He was a Chicago Bull for a while. Now he's a Wizard. And so we got some Bobby Portis game-worn signed sneakers, and that's going to go to @fantasy_WP. So he wins the Bobby Portis sneakers. And the last grand prize that we had here is a signed Darrelle Revis mini helmet, also given to us by StatRoutes. And that's going to go to I'm going to mess his name up, but it's @Nikki Gupta FFA. It's NIKHIGUPTA FFA. So you win the Darrelle Revis mini helmets. I will reach out to y'all on Twitter to let you know you won if you're not watching the show, and I'll get that sent out to you immediately. All right, guys, let's do a quick mock draft here. Like I said, we're running a little bit long. So, Derek, you got the 101. Who you going with as your 101 in your rookie mocks?
Got to go with my number one running back because running backs are always king in dynasty drafts for me, and that's David Montgomery.
David Montgomery, 101. Nice. I like it.
I'm going, man. I know Jacobs should have been the pick for what everybody said, so bring your hate. I'm all for it.
Good stuff. Going off the norm. All right, Ryan, who you got for your 102?
I'm going with Jacobs. I thought he was going to give me a little harder or easier choice, but I was between him and one other guy. But I'm going to take Jacobs there. He's a clear starter, and I think Reed will run him into the ground.
All right, good stuff. I'm going to step out of the running back limelight, and I'm going to go with N'Keal Harry for the Patriots. I'm a little bit worried about his long-term potential with Tom Brady eventually retiring. I don't know when that'll happen, but and we already talked about Stidham not being the guy, so who knows who the quarterback will be there when Tom Brady finally does retire. But receivers do have longer careers, so give me N'Keal Harry. All right, with the 104, Derek, back to you.
Miles Sanders, all day, man. The teardrop is real for running backs.
Yep.
Good stuff. Miles Sanders at the 104. 105, Ryan, who you got?
I think I'm going to take Paris Campbell.
Ugh.
Paris Andrew Lock. Part of me wanted the DK, but you may have pushed
You're
that.
a smart man. You're a smart man for not going DK.
But I'm going Paris Campbell. I think he brings a lot to the game. I think he brings a lot to complement T.Y. Hilton. I don't think he's as similar to him as I think. He does a lot of underneath routes, stuff like that. I think it'd be a nice compliment for him. And it's Andrew Luck throwing the ball. He'll be all right.
All right, good stuff. All right, so the next pick I got is the 106. I'm going to go with a guy that probably isn't going this high in most drafts, but I like the landing spot, and I just think that this offense is amazing. And that's the guy I talked about that I had no idea who he was before, and that's Mecole Hardman for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think his draft stock rose tremendously, especially if Tyreek Hill gets suspended or whatever, gets kicked out of the NFL permanently. They've got a couple receivers there that are they got Sammy Watkins, who can't stay healthy, and then it's like, who else do they have? They have nobody. So Mecole Hardman is my guy at the 106. At the 107, Derek, who you got?
Man, depending on format, whether super flex or one quarterback, there's a lot of different ways I could go with this. Hell with it, man. I'm going to go with my man crush. I'm going to go with my love, TJ Hawk, 107.
Nice. Good stuff there. Taking the first tight end off the board there. All right, Ryan, who you got at your 108?
Yeah, going back-to-back tight ends, I am taking Noah Fant. I think he's going to be instant volume, and he might get more volume than 90% of receivers this year out of the rookies.
Good stuff. All right, I have the 109. I'm going to stick with the receivers, and I'm going to go with a guy that Ryan called a loser, so to speak, a loser as far as the draft goes. But I think he actually came out pretty good here, and that's J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I think Alshon Jeffrey, obviously he's getting older. He's been injured quite a bit in his career. Arcega-Whiteside basically comps to Alshon. I think he steps into the offense, maybe not year one, but year two, and does the thing that Jeffrey does in that young offense with Carson Wentz as his quarterback. I think he ends up being pretty good in the long run. All right, the 110, Derek, who you got?
Jeff, I thought you were going to go Debo with that last pick. Just putting it out there. So the 110, I think regardless of format, whether it's 1 QB or super flex, just how I feel, if you got the 3 running backs off the board, if you got the top 2 tight ends off the board, wide receiver gets damn muddy after this. Give me Kyler Murray at 110. I think it's an easy pick right there with the upside.
Agreed.
Even
100%.
in one quarterback.
Agreed 100%. I think it's a great pick there in the first round. All right, Ryan, 111, what you got?
My bad. Did Metcalf get picked yet or no?
You picked Metcalf.
No. We left him for you.
I thought you picked Metcalf, no?
Metcalf. I thought I did take it, but yeah, I'm taking Metcalf here. I'm comfortable taking the upside this late in the first round. I was debating between him and my 2 Ravens guys, but I'm going to go Metcalf on this one.
All
Wait,
right.
did you just take Metcalf over Hollywood? Let me just put that out there. Did you do that?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, man.
I love you.
I go with whoever. The reason I did it, he has a better chance of
I'm saying. I just got to put
being
it
that
out
off
to make sure I'm right on that.
All right.
Hollywood right around the turn.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm actually going to go. I got Hollywood Brown. I know I got him as a loser. I don't like the landing spot, but picked in the first round, first receiver off the board. They're going to give him a long leash, and they're going to try to make him a number 1 receiver. I don't know if it's going to happen necessarily, but I think if I can draft this guy, he does become, the next big thing there in Baltimore. I think Marquise Brown will finish out the first round at the 112. Great podcast, guys. We actually kind of made it at a perfect time there. We got to 1 hour, 12 minutes. Not too bad. Derek, give us where we can find you on Twitter and where we can find you on the internet and all that good stuff.
Whew. You can find me on Twitter at Debro_FFB. I'm making the rounds, man. I'm getting to podcasts, all kinds of stuff. So if you like or do not like my voice, I'm sorry, or you're welcome, because you're going to hear more of me in the coming weeks. So check out all my work, Dynasty-wise, at Gridiron Experts and Fantasy Data. You can check out any DFS-related content and redraft content at the Quant Edge. And, I'll probably be on Sirius coming this year, too. And as well, I said, the Fantasy Backbook. Slowly getting all my stuff, my content. I have to add a few things post-draft to the Fantasy Black Book, but that will be out with Joe Pisapia, Chris Meany, Matt Franchise, a bunch of other guys involved in that. So, yeah, that's my shameless plug for the night.
Good stuff. So that hard-hitting kicker analysis there for the Black Book. So
Tight ends, baby, all day.
Tight ends and kickers. All right, good stuff. All right, Ryan, where can we find you at? What's your Twitter handle again?
Find me on Twitter, Fancy FB Connect. Obviously, find me here. Bi-weekly now, soon to be weekly again once season starts up. Have some articles coming out. I have an article on Lamar Jackson coming out very soon.
Ooh.
Not very soon, but soon. But to show everybody why is wrong on how they're feeling about him and that offense.
Love fest.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys some numbers behind the love fest. But yes,
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
And I gotta give Ryan a shout out too, because we did I forget how many teams we had in there, but we did a pre-draft sort of accuracy thing, and he ended up taking the thing home. So if you looked at his mock draft that he had pre-draft, they were pretty good. He did an accuracy thing. I think it was NFL.com. And what was that, Ryan?
Yeah, I was out of like all of NFL.com, like 100,000 people. I was 681.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I got
good,
8
man.
picks right. And I only got 8 picks right.
Wow.
Like 8 picks got me in the top 1,000. It's
Wow.
absurd how wrong everybody is all the time.
Yep, it's crazy. It's crazy how that works out. All right, guys. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. The podcast is pretty much everywhere. You can just type in Talk Loud Radio, type in Armchair Fantasy Show in Google, and you'll find us. For Ryan, for Derek, that is a wrap. Have a good night.
Peace.